Welcome to Your Vote, YourTV's extensive coverage of the 2022 provincial election. I'm Mark Rockburn, and joining me in the YourTV studios today is Progressive Conservative candidate for the riding of Northumberland-Peterborough South and the incumbent in the riding, David Piccini. David, welcome and thanks for taking time out.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I apologize for my attire. We were just knocking on doors, so literally running into the office.
Thank you for coming in. And so I thought we'd start, David, with the fact that, some would think that many people would know who David Piccini is. You've been in the office for 4 years, and, a year before that, previously, you're banging on doors leading up to the election in 2018 against Mr. Rinaldi and the other candidates. But with the influx of so many new people into this riding since that time, I thought I'd give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to the people out there that may not know who David Piccini is.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. So I grew up in Port Hope. We moved out when I was just a wee lad, but grew up in Port Hope, went to Dr. Power's school, no longer the school anymore, and really played soccer here. We played for Northumberland United. We had a great team back in the day. I was chatting with my former coach, John Mulligan. His wife called in the office the other day. Anyways, played soccer, avid into sports out here as well, and then worked Eastside Mario's, no pun, no stereotypes here, given my last name. Went to university at University of Ottawa. Worked the summers back here in construction and to help pay my way through school. Then got a job in co-op as I went through University of Ottawa. Worked a bit on the Hill. That's where I really got into first taste of politics, if you will. And then after working a bit in the public service, working a bit on the political side on the trade file with Ed Fast, joined the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Canada, where I got the opportunity to travel the world. For anyone watching, wondering what the Royal College is, it's essentially a college that certifies our specialists and administers the exams, the very competitive exams at Royal College. So once I was done that, came back home, was getting involved, always very political. Anyone who knows me knows I like to talk politics, and got involved here because, like so many who leave our community at a young age, wanted more opportunity. I love rural Ontario. I love our community, from the rolling hills to the entrepreneurs to our farmers markets. I love living here. And I lament the fact that we lost a lot of manufacturing jobs. We were losing jobs and wanted to create a better future for our next generation. So I'm running again to continue the work that we've made, to continue the progress, to get it done for our community, and to build a better future for our next generation.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, this would be your third election, correct? Because did you not run while you were in school or were in Ottawa?
Sort of sacrificial lamb, if you will, which was sort of my first dabble into it. But really looking forward to hopefully having the opportunity to serve the people of our community again.
So talk about getting a campaign underway here, this time as the incumbent, whereas last time you had a year of prep work, you're able to get out, you're able to knock on the door, get your name out. Now obviously you did a little bit of that when you could on weekends, but talk about the different types of having to run a campaign from when you were a newbie, being able to get out there, get all the people while the sitting MPP was working, to now being that MPP and having to run on your record.
Well, it's a really good question. So newbie, walking into some rooms, I mean, we've got Norwood, Brighton, Newcastle, Port Hope, Cobourg. There's so many different communities, Keene. So when you're walking into a Legion, a Rotary Hall, you're getting to know Lions crew up in Norwood. There's that sense you're trying to prove yourself. I was unseating a popular MPP at the time. I had great respect for him. We differed on ideas, but it's intimidating, not as many people know you. You don't have that incumbency factor. You're really trying to prove yourself. To now I've got a record to run on, and that comes with its ups. It also comes with its challenges on issues, that people have brought up over the last 4 years, but I'm proud of my record, and I would say it's a big advantage. I mean, I'm proud of my record, proud of what I've done for our community, and I'm building on it. I mean, we've had union members, we've got the Leuna crew out helping us today, we've had firefighters come in to help us with the sign efforts, we've had people from all walks of life walk into that campaign office and tell us, David, 2 years ago you helped my mother or father, or And it matters, and they're helping us, and they believe in Premier Ford and what we're doing in Ontario. And so I would say I've relished every minute of every year I've served, and we've grown a massive campaign team, and it's been easier this time setting it up because we're blessed with so many people helping us this time.
It's been a trying last couple of years, and we'll get into that a little bit later on in some of the decisions that had to be made during that time. But was there ever a time that you ever contemplated not running again?
I would say, I'm not going to lie and say there weren't difficult times where you sometimes wonder, is this, I don't know, it never led to, I'm not going to run again. You sort of wonder sometimes, is this for me? You question yourself, you have those deep inner thoughts, and it's been challenging. And I say that more because the COVID pandemic has been 24/7. It's relentless. The needs that people have expressed, you're trying to help, you're spreading yourself uber thin. But then the silver lining, the coins have two sides, has been, I've been so fortunate to get to know so many people I likely wouldn't have known through this pandemic who've reached out for help. So I would say I'm almost a two-term MPP now for the number of people I've met and what we've done. So for me, it's been difficult, but every time I get out dealing with constituents, it's my happy place. Queen's Park can sometimes get a bit frustrating at times, but it's here where I'm happiest, and I love this community. So I've relished every moment, and I'm looking forward to a second term if the people are willing to have me.
Going into this, it's certainly an election that's never been seen before. And what I mean by that is the fact that you really had 2 years as an MPP of doing your daily, your party doing your daily work, you doing your daily work in and around the riding and such, and then COVID hit, where almost for 2 years you didn't deal with anything other than COVID-19.
Yeah.
Your government really couldn't do or get their plan fully in place until maybe 2 or 3 months ago, when it looked like there was light at the end of the tunnel and you could start rolling out your plan of, what you want to see for the future of this, of Ontario. So it's really a two-sided, you're defending yourself COVID, and you're saying, but let's not forget 2 years ago what we were able to do as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I'd wanted to accomplish, Mark, first term that I want to come back and finish, either finishing things that we've started or complete things. COVID has been immensely stressful on everybody, and no more so than frontline heroes, folks on the front lines of our healthcare system. I think it's given me the opportunity. It's really exposed cracks and cleavages within our system that are longstanding. This has happened over decades, but it's shown a need to think of more innovative ways to train healthcare professionals. We're expanding nursing seats. We're expanding the number of seats for doctors. We're getting that done. It's exposed the need to go upstream to help really age in place our aging community. Again, I think to community paramedicine, I think to our seniors tax credit, things we're doing to help people age in place. And it's exposed the cracks physically on the buildings. We've made a number of big renovations, the largest capital investment to our hospital system. People wondering, we need modern and safe spaces for our loved ones in long-term care. We have 31,000 new beds being built, 28,000 redeveloped beds. You juxtapose that with only 611 new beds built prior to us taking office in the last term of the previous government. So we know we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot more work to do to keep building a better Ontario. And for me, I'm excited to see broadband over the finish line, connecting everybody, to see Go Service, the pilot, and hopefully actually bring the train here in my second term. And so lots more to do.
Certainly lots more to do, and this riding is very diverse, and we've talked about that many times, that you're not like you're in downtown Toronto where you go one square block and you have your 100,000 constituency and that's all you. Here you're looking at Cobourg, Port Hope, you're looking at Colborne, you're looking all the way out to Norwood, and we can't forget our friends out in Alderville as well. Yes. So it's a wide variety with many different issues and problems in certain areas. So how do you keep that and bring that all together that's going to make this riding better for everyone, but working with the individual groups that have different issues in those locations?
Yeah, I think for me, so year one, you're settling in, you're getting to know everybody, getting to know the issues, starting to work on that agenda. You know, I quickly realized, if I'm to be open and honest, that I can't be a successful MPP playing whack-a-mole. That every time you have to really take a step back. What are our big priorities? And after that first few months in office, you start to hear, and I start to think, okay, what did they say in Alderville? What did they say in Hiawatha? What did they say in Port Hope and Cobourg? What are some of the common synergies, internet, broadband being one? And how can we best make an impact in each respective community? And get out. So then in year two, I'd started the pop-up office where I went around the riding, setting up offices in municipal buildings, taking a bit of a roadshow, if you will. I tried to stay open throughout all of this. Then the pandemic hits, and I did town halls, Zooms, where we would have mayors, municipal leaders, town staff, and everyday people. And it really, we saw with the mayor's meetings that I convened bi-weekly, a real alignment between Peterborough, Northumberland, and Clarington. So for me, you've got to make sure you do the rounds, appear for councils, meetings, answer questions, get out, and try to find ways to connect. And Zoom certainly has been helpful, but we are not one homogenous community. We are a collection of proud communities in Northumberland-Peterborough South.
I will say this, and you and I have been together for the last 2 years on a weekly basis of trying to keep residents updated as much as we can, and many other times as well during the pandemic. But speaking with the mayors and speaking with the chiefs of their First Nations, one of the greatest accomplishments, and it's a simple accomplishment, and that no one had ever thought of, was let's have a weekly meeting, a bi-weekly meeting. Let's bang everybody, bring ideas where you say, a simple idea that maybe John Henderson in Cobourg has thought of, that, wow, that will work out in Campbellford well, or what they're doing out there during this time. It was such a simple thing, but speaking with all those participated, it was such a great thing, because it almost brought this riding together because of its vastness.
Oh, excellent point. And when we were talking about the vaccine rollout, I'll take a case in point. We had everybody dealing with, what is our emergency plan? Remember the province mandated emergency preparedness plan. Ironically and sadly, we needed to put it into action with COVID. And so when you're hearing mayors talking about retrofitting arenas and how they're doing it, others saying, here's how vaccine administration has been successful in our community, taking what's been a success, extrapolating it around the regions. Our wonderful Cobourg Rotary story about leveraging volunteers. And I think if I'm to reflect upon COVID, one of the lessons learned that we really, and I've said this to the Premier and the Health Minister, and I know Gord Lay is leading a bit of a white paper on this, if we extrapolate how to leverage the strengths within our community. We have remarkable leaders in business, leaders in operations, people with military experience who are retired in our community, and their abilities were on full display with the vaccine rollout, and Cobourg Rotary stood tall. They set up a number of clinics, not just in our community, but in others. And so for me, having a venue where we can bring all of that together, bat around those ideas, I think was successful. And also simple things like, how are you dealing with arenas and kids playing hockey and HVAC and staffing? So from my perspective, it was incredibly helpful. It also meant if I can't physically go out because we're in a lockdown per se, how can you get everybody together? And so this virtual meeting was incredibly successful, and I'll be continuing it should I get re-elected going forward. David,
we're up on break. We still have lots more to talk about, and we'll certainly talk about you being promoted to a minister within the Ford cabinet, but there's still lots more to talk about, especially what you're hearing at the doorways as you're knocking on doors. You're watching Your Vote, YourTV's extensive coverage of the 2022 provincial election. I'm Mark Rockburn. Don't go away. We will be right back with more and David Piccini. Welcome back to Your Vote, YourTV's extensive coverage of the 2022 provincial election. I'm Mark Rockburn. Joining me in the studio is Progressive Conservative candidate for the riding of Northumberland-Peterborough South, David Piccini. And David, so let's talk about yourself, and let's talk about being appointed cabinet. And obviously it was something that I could see coming. You started to become more and more the face of the party during that time, and cabinet shuffle occurs. So talk about the accomplishment and what you were able to accomplish in that short time in your portfolio.
Yeah, it was a surreal moment getting the call that morning. I was in a staff meeting. I popped out, no caller ID. It was the Premier. And offered me this opportunity. For me, the environment was an exciting one. And if you'd asked me what I would love, as a bystander, I would have said environment would have been right up there among the top three for me. So I was really excited and honored to take on this portfolio. What is happening with respect to our environment, climate change, what's happening in our communities, and the need to protect our environment is a generational issue. So for me, being at the helm, I'm very proud. A couple things we've accomplished in the less than a year that I've been there. On the Indigenous front, we have worked in partnership with Indigenous communities. We, for the first time ever, in the mandate letters of Walkerton and Aqua. And for those wondering, obviously Walkerton, that Center of Excellence, which was set up after Walkerton, does a lot of testing for clean water and training. And Ontario Clean Water Agency, again, another agency of government tasked with clean water and operations of clean water systems, both in their mandate, Indigenous, for the first time ever. And we started the Indigenous Advisory Circle, First Nations Advisory Circle, which is working, and we've seen remarkable outcomes in Neskanjigam and other communities, the work we're doing training in partnership led by Indigenous communities. So really proud of that. Second, a first ever provincial park in over 30 years. I'm incredibly proud that I was the minister that brought the idea forward, identified the land, brought it to cabinet, got the approval at Treasury Board, and it was in the budget. And I'm very excited that we are the party that has done that after 30 years. On the park subject, as a sort of a part B, modernizing the parks portfolio with the launch of the first ever full-time park store. In my mandate letter, the Premier asked me to look at ways to generate more revenue. This parks brand, it's stronger than the Liberal brand. It's stronger than the Progressive Conservative brand. It's stronger than any political party. It's the strongest brand, arguably, that we have in Ontario. And so leveraging that, we now have an online store that folks can go and shop their favorite park swag. You can get hoodies, sweatshirts, all sorts of things. The favorite patches that everybody rocks on their sweaters and backpacks. And all of the profits goes back into parks, Blanding Turtle projects, better trail systems, canoe systems. Really proud of that. And third, the protected areas work that we've done with Hazelbird Nature Reserve here, the O'Neill property, donation, the South Shore expansion, 12 kilometers of shoreline with Lake Ontario, and the Boreal Wildlands announcement, the largest ever private land donation, which will be protected under the Provincial Parks Conservation Reserves Act forevermore, largest in Canadian history. Very proud of that, and signed a deal on to protect caribou with the federal government, which I started and finished. So really proud of that, not to mention the big stuff we're running on the environment as well.
So let's shift gears here to the local level here in Northumberland-Peterborough South. And I know you're outdoor knocking, the campaign's in full swing and such. What are you hearing at the doors as the issues that people are telling you?
Well, I'm hearing affordability is an issue. I'm hearing people, a frustration at the door, sick and tired of politicians talking, complaining, and I think that really draws the line in the sand on the choice folks have to make this election. Is do we want to go back to the white papers and the roundtables and the talking ad nauseum, or a party in the PCs that gets it done? And so at the doors, when I hear the affordability issue come up, people appreciate the waiving the tolls on the 412, 418. The license plate, as small as that is, we have to think of ways that we can support single parents and others with the cost of everything, food, gas going up, so putting more money back in their pockets, not to mention the rebate, 10 cents, 8 to 10 cents in gas coming in July should we get reelected. So affordability is a big issue, and people want to succeed. They want to get ahead, and this is a big choice. Is bigger government the answer, or can we lean on Ontarians, get out of the way, harness the talent and the ingenuity that is the people of our communities? And so for me, having had the opportunity to work on micro-credentials, making it OSAP eligible, saying to someone who's working, you can earn money, work in the job you love, earn and learn while you're doing it. You can get OSAP support if you can't afford it yourself. And then you can stack those micro-credentials to progress in your career. People want bigger paychecks. So we're supporting them in that. And then another big issue that I hear in our community is also the infrastructure, just getting places, getting things. So housing, affordable housing. People want that. To do it, you need to dig stormwater pipes. You need to put in water pipes. We announced 2 new water towers here, building the infrastructure. Forever, we have developers pushing growth, and then we kind of figure out how to do it after. Now we're saying we're going to work with municipalities, we're going to plan for growth, and then we can work with progressive developers to make it happen, who are willing to use secondary suites, alternative dwelling units, environmentally friendly techniques, building techniques. And we're getting that done. So I'm really excited, and I hear people who have an angst that their son or daughter can't afford a home, and they want a government that's going to get houses built, get the critical infrastructure, the roads, the bridges, the highways, and they know that Doug Ford, our government, will get it done.
You've been MPP here for 4 years, many announcements. Any one that sticks out above the rest here in this riding?
Oh, absolutely. 2, a GO service for this area. A lot of people don't know this started well over a year ago when I was meeting with mayors. We were talking, the province at the time had about $250,000 on the table. It ended up progressing to a data sharing agreement for the on-demand, and I think the county rightly in their survey said that a fixed route doesn't cater to the people who live up in Bewdley, to the folks up in Campbellford. We need an on-demand service that gets people when and where they need to go. So that's a big one, and broadband internet. The COVID pandemic shown the challenges of connectivity. So connecting every resident of Northumberland here by 2024, a year ahead of the provincial promise. And broadband as a utility. Consider it a road or a train track. We build the road, anybody can drive on it. You're not beholden to an internet service provider. So that's a big one to help folks get connected, earn more, bigger paychecks, help them sell their widgets, goods to the world, and helping our farmers.
What do you say to those individuals out there when you see the ads that in the healthcare field that if the Ford government is elected that it's going private?
Well, you know, it saddens me because they say once one is out of ideas, they resort to sort of ad hominem attacks that you're going to, look, they said this last time, you're going to privatize this, you're going to cut that. Reality is Northumberland Hills Hospital has a 30% increase plus to their base funding. I just announced 10 new beds to the hospital and their operatory suite renovations to improve acute care services at the hospital. We got that done. We've expanded nursing seats, expanded doctor seats. We've had community paramedicine. We've launched Ontario Health Teams, launched a public health hub in Colborne. So I would ask those people, what about any of that leads you to believe one is privatizing our healthcare system? And quite frankly, it's negligent, it's shameful, and what it really shows is the desperation of the other parties. They don't have ideas, so they need to resort to scaring people into voting for them. And I think that's sad. I'm excited. People of this community are excited. They know that in me, they've got an MPP who will listen, will work with them, will get the job done. I'm open to ideas. I'm open to new ideas, even if it's a criticism. And but what I'm not going to stand for is baseless, fake attacks designed to scare people. That's not what people want in politics. They want ideas. They want a vision.
We have 2 minutes left here, and you know, I think I might get slapped on the wrist if I didn't ask you about Wesleyville and what happened. Yes. And is that purchase dead now? Like, no chance, or is there? I'll leave it to you there.
Yeah, so we're reviewing the sale now, and this is out of no fault of the municipality. This is 2 ships in the night. But what people need to know is that the province, when an agency, board, or commission, or ABC, makes a land sale and wants to sell a property to a municipality, to a private proponent, if it's land that's been purchased by taxpayers, it's land that's being operated by taxpayers, we have a duty in government to make sure that any sale respects taxpayers first and foremost. B, that it achieves objectives in the sale. So in this proposed sale, we saw, again, no fault of Port Hope's, but no timelines, no deliverables, no clear articulation. We want to expand green space. You see the Save the Trees signs all up over Port Hope, so I know the environment matters to the residents of Port Hope. How are you going to do it? The Provincial Parks and Conservation Reserves Act is the strongest tool to do it. So Mayor Sanderson and I agree, we share an ambitious vision. It was Mayor Sanderson and I who together said, let's get this done. I want to get it done with them. But when you're financing that, again, from the province, we passed the Core Realty Directive legislation in November. We have to make sure it's consistent with those principles. If we're going to put in affordable housing, what are the timelines? When are we going to do it? How many people? What's the price? Let's work on this together. Let's make sure if we're going to protect that area, which for me, it's a line in the sand. We're protecting those critical environmental features. Let's do it. Who's best positioned to do it? Well, you happen to have Minister of Environment as your local member of provincial parliament. So let's get that done together. So again, I'm very optimistic about this. We're reviewing it now. We'll be working with them immediately on the other side of the election on the critical path forward to achieve our shared objectives.
You've been watching Your Vote, YourTV's extensive coverage of the 2022 provincial election. We'll see you next time.